According to Class and the Transition to Adulthood by Annette LaRue, different parenting styles can be related to one's social class and affect a child's transition from high school to college. The middle class tends to use a parenting style referred to as concentrated cultivation. When a child is raised under this model, the parents step in more often to help their children plan for college, monitor their child's activity in high school, and often provide financial assistance because they have capable resources. They can take paid vacation days to go on college visits with their students, bound child, and they have financial availability to pay for college applications and possibly even college of their child. The working class, on the other hand, tends to use accomplishment of natural growth model. In this model, parents assume that if they provide their children with love, feed them and clothe them, and keep them safe, the children will grow and thrive spontaneously. The natural growth model allows for children to learn for themselves, make independent choices in their lives. While parents are less likely to help their children with advice or direct them with schooling because they lack time, money, and frankly their own experience in higher education, parents of the natural growth model are more likely to help their children out with transportation to and from work, provide childcare, or setting up job interviews. As a group, we too were interested in the concept, conducted a similar small-scale study, but incorporated the race factor that original study left out to see if we could create different results with the aspect of race is included.
To recap, concerted cultivation is connected with middle class ideas. According to Michael Zwing's What's Class Got to Do with It? The middle class is a term that is almost always used to describe people in the middle of the income distribution. Middle class workers are people who work for a wage but live comfortable in modest lives, especially in good producing industries. Unionized workers have been able to win wages that allow home ownership, paid vacations, nice cars, home entertainment centers, and other consumer amenities. The accomplishment of natural growth model is often tied with the working class. Zwing suggests that working class is made up of people who, when they go to work or when they act as citizens, have comparatively little power or authority. For our study, we examined parental involvement during the college application process. We can use the results from our survey to see if different results are achieved when the category of race is tied into the study. The authors of Class and the Transition to Adulthood note that for concerted cultivation model, middle-class parents generally consider it appropriate to closely monitor the behavior of institutional agents, such as teachers and other school officials, and to intervene on behalf of their children if they deem that their children's best interests are not being served. The model of natural growth has a very different view. Working class parents consider these agents' authority and responsibility to be broad and not open to challenge. There is also an area in which students that work to get into colleges are rejected, not based on their merit, but merely upon their lineage. And why are droves of unqualified, unprepared kids getting into our top colleges? Because their dads are alumni. Arthur John LaRue addresses higher education institutions that show preference to legacy alumni students over other non-legacy minority students. LaRue states a legacy is about twice as likely to be admitted as a black or Hispanic student. Furthermore, LaRue states that the Harvard class of 1992, 200 unqualified legacy students completely outnumbered all black, Mexican American, Native American, and Puerto Rican enrollees put together. While this could make a large impact in a study like ours, we fortunately do not have to worry about the impact that legacy students could have in our sample because we only survey students from the University of Louisville, a state school, not an Ivy League school like Harvard.
We surveyed 31 college students about parental involvement in their life about all things college applications, college visits, college scheduling, and beyond. To incorporate the race factor in our study, we simply added the demographic question of, with which race do you identify with? For this study, we will be examining white versus non-white students. Our sample consists of 23 white students and 8 non-white students. Overall, 19 out of 31 students responded that their parents did accompany them on a college visit. This equates to 16 or 70% of white students responding that their parents accompanied them and 3 or 38% of non-white students. This means that parents of white students accompanied their children on college visits at a higher rate than parents of non-white students. We also asked students about whether their parents helped them pick their college courses or major. Only 16% or 5 students answered yes, all of which were white. This means that the majority of parents, regardless of race, did not participate in the selection of courses and majors of their children. Almost half, 15 students, reported that their parents monitored their activities in high school. This was true for 50% of non-white students and 48% of white students. Also pertaining to high school, the majority, 77%, or 24 students, got to attend the high school of their choice, as reported by 78% of white students and 75% of non-white students. 62% of students reported that their parents helped them with their college application process. This was true for 65% of white students and only 50% of non-white students. Therefore, we can say that the parents of white students were more likely to help them in the college application process than the parents of non-white students. Students were asked whether their parents or high school counselor helped them plan for college. 39% received help from both, as reported by 9 white students and 3 non-white students. 42% of students received help from their parents, as reported by 11 white students and 2 non-white students. 19% of students answered that they received help from their high school counselors, as reported by 3 white students and 3 non-white students. Perhaps the greatest difference discovered within this question is that 85% of those who received help from parents only were white students. Since LaRue and Winiger used social class in their analysis of their study, so did we. In order to measure social class, we asked students about how their college tuition was paid for. 23%, or 7 students, reported that their tuition was paid for with a scholarship, over half of which, 4 students, were non-white. 35%, or 11 students, pay their own tuition, nearly 3/4 of which are white. 26%, or 8 students, reported that their parents pay their tuition, all but 1 being white. The tuition for the remaining 5 students was paid by other, or a combination of methods, representing 13% of non-white students and 17% of white students. We do not believe that race plays a factor in the other/combination methods response.
We believe that the results of our research show that while not significant, it seems that a great deal of parental behavior is driven by cultural repertoires that vary sharply across social classes and racial groups. We can conclude from our class survey that many students grew up in a concentrated cultivation environment. Our group arrived at this conclusion after comparing the criteria outlined by LaRue to our survey results. The majority of students were white and had parents that were involved with their education. Many students consulted with their parents about college choices, a major factor for the concentrated cultivation model. We found that many students either pay their own tuition or have their parents pay. Again, another point for the concentrated cultivation model. The majority of students surveyed also come from home environments where either one or both parents have a college degree. This drives home the point that many students in our class grew up in an environment where education was valued. Our project has brought us to the conclusion that while not every student in our class was raised the same, the majority experienced a concentrated cultivation upbringing.